The morning that changed everything. Margaret had been a single mother for 3 years now. At 52, she'd learned that life doesn't always follow the plan we make. But she'd also learned something more important. That small acts of kindness keep the light on even in the darkest times. That Tuesday morning, the coffee shop was crowded. Margaret noticed a man in his 60s sitting alone at a corner table. His clothes were worn, his hands weathered. He was counting coins, then quietly putting them back in his pocket. She remembered her own hard times. Those months after the divorce when every dollar mattered. 2 coffees, please, she told the barista. And whatever pastry looks freshest. She placed the extra cup and a blueberry muffin on the stranger's table. Good morning, she said simply and walked away before he could protest. The man looked up, surprised. Thank you, he called softly. But Margaret was already gone. The next morning. The sound was unmistakable. Margaret stepped onto her small porch and shielded her eyes against the sun. A helicopter was descending onto the field beside her house. Her heart raced. What could this possibly be? A man in a business suit stepped out, followed by the stranger from the coffee shop, now dressed impeccably, looking entirely different, yet somehow the same. Mrs. Margaret Chen? The suited man asked. She nodded, speechless. The older gentleman smiled warmly. My name is Robert Harrison. Yesterday I was testing something my late wife always believed in. That kindness still exists in this world. You see, I'm quite wealthy, but after my wife passed, I felt lost. I needed to know if the goodness she always saw in people was still out there. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. You didn't know who I was. You just saw someone who needed a coffee. Robert's voice cracked slightly. My Sarah would have done the same thing. He handed her an envelope. Inside was a check that would cover her daughter's entire college tuition. This isn't charity, Robert said gently. It's a reminder that kindness ripples outward. Use this for your daughter, and maybe sometimes buy a stranger a coffee. The gift that keeps giving. Margaret kept a photo on her mantle now, her and Robert at her daughter Emma's college graduation. They'd become dear friends. 2 people who understood that life's greatest treasures aren't things we own. They're connections we make. Every Tuesday morning, Margaret still buys an extra coffee. She never knows who might need it, and she always remembers. Kindness is never wasted. Sometimes it just takes a little while to come full circle. The end. Remember, friends, we're never too old to make someone's day a little brighter. Sometimes the smallest gesture carries the biggest heart.